All right, because you're the one that we gotta take care of, so.
She is way nice.
And Ms. Cook, my slideshow is not coming out.
Are you on?
Not in full screen yet. And it just worked in here earlier today.
And
It's worked fine for
it will
girls.
go,
I wonder,
well,
are you?
Whitney's went out, I mean, it went not to sleep, but it goes.
Yep, you have it on slide over.
Oh, okay, perfect, thank you.
So it'll go, sometimes the screen goes black.
Yeah,
when you get
screen, depending on how fast you have your sleep on.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. And so Whitney's did that a couple times.
All right,
It's okay, but it was fine.
these are things you guys can be looking at. You guys want them over there? You want me
You
to
have
bring
your
them?
big book?
Yeah, you can
we'd
definitely
like to
have my
kind of
big book.
glance through that while you're talking.
And then as I'm talking, I'll be bringing you guys some of my artifacts as I get to them.
That's perfect.
But here's my
Put that
portfolio.
back on there. We kind of like to thumb through it. Make sure all the parts are there.
And it is not a problem for you to walk over here, Rich,
All right.
as you're talking.
You can interact all you want, or take a drink of water, or we might ask you questions.
It's okay.
Now that we got you all nervous, go ahead.
He's not nervous.
I enjoy talking in
He
front of
does
people,
like to
so.
talk.
He is related to you.
He is related to me, kinda, sorta.
Could be.
He wants to be.
I want to be.
He's got more families than you know what to do.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's all right. How fortunate you are.
All right, you guys ready?
We are ready,
Whenever
go
you are.
for it. You got 10 minutes, and then you gotta get us out of here.
You guys taking me to supper or what?
Sure.
All right.
You do your thing.
Hello, my name is Cody Thompson. I'll be presenting you my Titans Jam. I am 19 years old. I was born and raised here in Gretger, Iowa. This is my hometown, and it always will be. Right here are a few pictures of things I love to do that kind of explain who I am. But my parents are Mark and Shayla Honeyfeld and Lonnie Thompson. I have 4 siblings. I have 3 brothers, Austin Thompson, Jordan Thompson, and Doug Honeyfeld. And my stepsister's name is Sarah Honeyfeld. Different hobbies I like to do, as you can see, is I play football. You know, sports are a big part of my life, but I also like to hang out with my friends, you know, go to the movies, go swimming in the summer, go to the lakes. Those are just a few different things I like to do. So this quote here, it says, "It never gets easier, you just get better." And that kind of, I read that, it's caught my attention. It was something that relates to my high school career. You know, you come in as a freshman, you're like, oh, this is hard, you know, adapting from going, you know, having the same teacher all the time to, you know, all these different classes, and you just have to adapt to life. It's just part of growing up, and that's something I've realized here at GT. So now I'm going to talk to you about my academic performance. I have maintained a 3.59 GPA, which is academics is something that's very important to me because my mom's a teacher and she's always pushed that on me since I was younger. And that's just something that I feel you want to be top notch at is academics. They come before sports and all these extracurricular activities. Different goals I've set. Again, maintaining a high GPA. This might not be the highest GPA you've seen tonight, but I am proud to say this is my GPA because I'm a student athlete. I have been since I entered high school. My test score reflections, as you can see in the binder, they are above average. Again, pride myself not to be average. That's one of my key things. And my strength was definitely my math scores. Math is something I excel at. It is something that, you know, I like to do, which might be something I do in my future. My weakness would be my language arts. I struggle sometimes with vocabulary and words. You know, it's just not one of the things I'm strong at, but I have learned to excel at that as I progress through high school. So my first artifact is mathematics. As you guys know, our math teacher, since I've been a freshman here, he moved on. He's at a different school, and we had a new math teacher this year. I regret not taking a math course my senior year, which I'm gonna tell all the younger kids. I wish I would have, but I didn't have any of my worksheets, so what I did is I went through and picked a problem for my freshman year. This problem is scientific notation. It is very simple, and the reason I chose this was because, you know, it was the first thing I learned when I came into high school. You know, first day, this is the first thing we did, and it kind of taught me, oh, hey, you know, math is going to be harder, because it was harder than that junior high math we did. So it's just a learning process I had to do to stick with my math. The general learner outcome is I was a complex thinker because, again, like I said, very simple, but if you think about it the same way I do, as, you know, a progression to get better, I can now solve complex math problems. I've been through 3 years of math, and I might pursue business management in the future, and that is math. So, my next artifact is science. And what I did was anatomical view, so I'm going to demonstrate to you guys what anatomical view is. As you can see in the picture, you stand forward, feet shoulder width apart, you take your palms out. That's the front side, and then the back side. It's like this. The reason I chose this is, again, it's a simple project, but it was my favorite part of anatomy because we were learning all the different major body parts. And as you can see, you know, you name all of them from top to bottom, and we had to make it so it's easy to read. And this was actually our study guide for our chapter test, which Mr. Benedict gave us a test of a picture of somebody with an anatomical view, and we had to go through and label it. The general learner outcome is self-directed learner. Again, he just said, hey, this is what anatomical view is. These are the terms you need. Now figure out where they go. You know, kind of learn how to study, because this is the very first thing we did in anatomy. Because you have to have a good set about what the body is, what the different body parts are. So that's why I chose that artifact. My next one is social studies. This is from my government class with Mr. Fulton. It is Tinker versus Des Moines, and what that is it was a Supreme Court case back during the Vietnam War. And on that far picture where it says Tinker versus Des Moines, those were the kids that went to the Supreme Court because they went to school one day wearing these armbands that had the sign peace on it. And you know, nowadays you think about it, you know, peace that sign isn't a big deal, but to a lot of people it was a reference they didn't agree with. They thought that's something that shouldn't be war, so they took it to the Supreme Court. That case eventually made it there, but Tinker lost. The kids lost the battle because of the time and error. So the general learner outcome from this was, again, a self-directed learner, because he gave us a list of topics that we had to choose from. And this is the one I chose just because it was, you know, in Iowa. You know, it was relatable because it was high school students. Big thing about this paper, it was one of the first papers I wrote that was more about the information than it was about the grammar and things, such that the grammar also did play a big part, but the focus was the information inside the paper. My next one is language arts. So, as you guys may know, as I stated earlier, I do like football. So this paper was written for Composition 2, and for Composition 2 we had to write a persuasive essay. So the topic I chose is why college athletes should be paid. And throughout that paper, I had to state different facts on why I think college athletes should be paid. I had to give my opinion, but then I had to back my opinions up with facts. For example, I stated that college athletes put in the same amount of work as the professional athletes, but they also go on top of school. But to close my paper, I had to give some facts on why they shouldn't be paid, and then argue back with those, like education is their payment. But there are still some professional athletes that do get degrees while they're in the pros, so they get paid too. The general learner outcome is a complex thinker. This was the first hard paper I had to write in my high school career. It was I wouldn't say it's a first hard one, but the most complex one, where you had many different facts and steps you had to take to write this paper. For example, we wrote, I think I ended up writing 5 or 6 rough drafts before I liked it, and then I went through and I wrote my final. And this is a paper I'm very proud of, that I would go back and I'd rewrite again and again just because the topic interested me. My next is STEM electives. And as you can see here, this is a picture that says dream on it. And this was from graphic design. This is the first year I've ever been in an art class, and, you know, because art was never something that interested me. But this is a project I had a lot of fun with. As you can see, the first letter is D, and my dream for that was to be a state champ. This was before wrestling happened, and you know, you may know, you might not know, I wasn't a state champ this year. It was a dream, it was there, I just couldn't quite reach it. So then I move on to my next dream, is to graduate. And hopefully with what you guys see tonight, you guys think I'm ready to graduate. My next in the E is to play college football. And I have signed my letter of intent, which I'm going to talk about in my future plans later. But I will be playing at Iowa Central. I will be a Triton next year. So I'm on my way to complete that dream. Next one is win the Heisman Trophy. That's a college award given to the best football player ever, or not ever, that season. And it is a very difficult thing for anybody besides a quarterback or a skill position player, but it is possible. There are people that are in the running, so that's why it's one of my dreams. I want to be the best of the best. My final dream is to play in the NFL. You know, I look at it, you set a goal and you have a dream, you can't give up on it. So I'm going to keep fighting until I know I just can't reach it anymore. The general learner outcome is effective and ethical uses of technology. This is my first time working with the app Photoshop. I don't know if any of you guys have experience with that, but it's not an easy thing just to jump in and learn. But I came along pretty quickly where I was able to learn how to use it and produce a quality image. Next is one of my humanity artifacts. Again, this was done in graphic design, and again it ties into football. So there on the far screen, it says Friday Night Lights. What I had to do is I had to go in and recreate a DVD cover. And so my favorite movie is Friday Night Lights. And one of my other ones is Remember the Titans. So what I did is Friday Night Lights is the main movie. And then Remember the Titans, since we're the Titans here at Graduate, it's kind of the motto throughout the movie that I based it off of. And the picture there is a picture of me, Marcus Gears, and Michael Gears. I consider those two to be, my brothers, as close as anybody else. And I don't know, it's just a good demonstration of how I can use Photoshop and tie my personal life into school. My general learner outcome is again, effective and ethical uses of technology. Again, these were all done in first semester when I was first learning how to use the app Photoshop. So that's something I would go back and do again because I have a good time working with Photoshop. My second humanities artifact is my Spanish newspaper. So I'm going to pass this around you guys. And as a class, we were tasked to design a newspaper, and we were each asked to do a certain part. So the ones I was asked to do was sports, TV shows, and a crossword. So for the sports, it was during wrestling season. So I touched base on wrestling because I wrestle, and it was right in the middle. We just finished district, so I touched base on how we were the sectional champs, how we had 3 move on from districts to state, which is something that I'm very proud of to say. I had teammates down at the state tournament with me. The TV show I did was called House MD. It's about a doctor, and it's one of the shows I really enjoyed at the time. So what it is, it's just a brief description of the show. It tells who plays in it and things such as that. My final was to design a crossword. So what I had to go through is I had to take Spanish words and I had to give hints, easy enough for a Spanish 1 student or even somebody that's not in Spanish to figure it out. The general learner outcome is to be a community contributor. That's very important to be because as you move on in life, you're going to have to work with other people. You're not going to be isolated all the time. So we had to discuss who wants to do what, then we had to decide where it's located. We just had to agree and disagree on a lot of things. And when we disagreed, it wasn't because, we just didn't want them to have it. It's just we wanted to throw more ideas out there. So. My next one is service learning. This is something I've taken great pride in throughout my high school career. I've accumulated a total of 80 hours over the last 2 years, and I have turned in enough hours to where I will receive my purple cord. That is where I have done 60 hours of community service over the last 2 years. But the one I'm going to talk to you guys about is Little Titans football. So we did 6 camps during the football season. So after a long Friday night, whether it be a road game or a home game, we'd wake up at 7, we'd go down to the field, and we teach these guys how to play football. And it was cool because instead of being the player that's getting yelled at or doing like making the plays, we had to be the coaches, which made you see a different perspective. And my role was, I was kind of like a head coach, to where I helped come up with the plays, I called the plays, things such as that. But we did break off into little groups, and that's when it got fun, because they broke up into just size, it didn't matter. You got put in a group of 5, and you rotated around, and mine was linemen. So even when you're young, everybody wants to play quarterback or running back or wide receiver. I mean, that's just the way it is. Well, we taught them that you can't be a quarterback or a running back or wide receiver without linemen. So I taught the kids how to snap the ball, how to take the correct steps when blocking for a play, things as simple as that. But then it kind of opened their minds up. Oh, hey, this is important. They're just as important as a quarterback or the people scoring touchdowns. So the general learner outcome for this is effective communicator, because we had about 10 coaches. We're just kids from the high school team. We had to communicate. We got broke up into groups, and we want to go over this today so we can run eye right belly tonight. And as you can see here in the pictures, this top picture right here is all us coaches picking on the little kids for a little bit before the game. But the bottom picture is a picture after the Saturday night game. What we do is we do a Saturday night game where they get to play under the lights. And as you can see, there's some coaches and some of the older kids. I am sad to say that I was 1-1. I won my junior year, but I lost the game this year as a coach. I know you guys would have expected me to be 2-0, but I did my best. So now I'm going to talk to you guys about my sports. We're going to start with track and field right now. And as you can see here, they do let me run every now and again. But I mainly throw shot and disc, and on occasion I run the 100 and the 4x1. This is something I've only done the last 2 years. I do regret it, because it has helped me out a crazy amount for football and wrestling, because those are my 2 things I pride myself in, but track helped me become even better than what I was. Next I'm going to talk about is wrestling. So I have a few things here to show you guys. We'll start here with, I was a 3-time state qualifier. I was a 4-year varsity letter winner. And those are my 2 6th-place medals from my sophomore and junior year. I didn't place this year, but it still ended up being a good season. These right here are 2 plaques, 2 of, I think, 10 plaques I have. And they are my most valuable wrestler award I received from the team. The coach every year, they have a certain amount of awards they give out. I got most valuable wrestler, and then 1 is qualifying for state. Another thing I received is in Sports Source. This is like our local ESPN magazine. I made the Winter Warriors, which is the all-star wrestling team for this area. So there on the left page is the Winter Warriors. That's a list of the kids that made it. So that's another great thing to be a part of. It's just a great honor knowing people recognize you. And then finally, football. I've been a 4-year varsity letter winner. As a freshman, I started defense, and from sophomore to senior year, I played both offensive line and defensive line. I've achieved a lot of things through football, whether it be, just being a better player, being a better person. Coach Huff, both the Coach Huffs have taught me a lot, not only about football, but my character. My character has to be very high for the honors I receive. So that's another thing that I pride myself in. That's what I'm going to talk to you about now. So right here is my Shrine Bowl book. So I've been selected to play in the 43rd Annual Shrine Bowl. And what the Shrine Bowl is it's like a Pro Bowl, but for high schoolers. What they do is they select players from all over the state of Iowa. We go down to Cedar Falls and we play a game. But that's not what's cool about being selected for the Shrine Bowl. That book right there, you raise money, you have to buy ads out of that book. And something that's really cool is this picture right here. The elementary school over in Terrell raised $465 for the cause.
Oh, how
And
awesome.
that is something, you know, it makes me feel good that everybody wants to support me. And they got different things such as no homework in May. They got a movie with popcorn and M&Ms. They get a picnic, so they get to celebrate a little bit for it. But in this picture right here, I'm holding this check that they wrote me, took it to the bank, they wouldn't let me cash it. But that day what we did is we walked laps. So their goal was to raise $300, which would equal 30 laps around the football field. So I went over there, I walked laps with them, and I decided I was gonna walk until everybody was done. So I ended up walking 60 laps around the football field. I was pretty tired that night. And then this picture right here is what we call it was the media day. It was just kind of getting yourself out there, making sure everybody knows who you are, what you've done. And these are all the different players from this area, not only players, but cheerleaders. And you all get selected, and we get to go down there for a week and hang out. This picture on the far side is a picture of my coach, Todd Huff, Mrs. Alish, and then a Shrine Bowl representative. He came there that day to tell me what my role was as a Shriner representative. What my role was is I had to raise money for that book. So I took it around to businesses, local people, and they could buy ads in my book that will go after my name, and all that money goes directly to the Shriners Hospitals. What the Shriners Hospitals are is a nonprofit organization. So kids that, you know, can't afford amputations, you know, burn unit, they have 22 across the United States and Canada. So all the money proceeds go to them, and I have received nearly $3,000 so far, and I was tasked to only raise $1,000, but I set my goal at $3,500. So I still have a little ways to go, but I have a few more donations coming my way.
Good job. Amazing.
And being selected for the Shrine Bowl isn't only about being a good football player. You have to be a good leader. You have to show great character, great involvement in your community. I mean, the representative told me this is the cream of the crop. You know, this is the best of the best, not only on the field, but off the field. So I feel very honored to represent my community down at the Shrine Bowl. Next thing I was selected for, my junior summer, going into my senior year, I was selected to participate in Boys State. What Boys State is you get a group of kids, again, across the state of Iowa. You get selected through your American Legion. Again, they look for people that, you know, great influence in school and out of school. You have to show great character. You just have to be part of the community, and you have to be able to interact with them. So right here is a picture of my city. And actually, this is my barrack. There was 2 barracks in the city. And what you did was you came together and you had like a mayor, you had a governor, you had everything. So what I did is I applied for Boys State. So I had to stand up for a state trooper. So what I do is I had to stand up in front of my city, give a presentation of why I want to be a state trooper. Now that's not what I want to do as a career, but that's something I wanted to experience while I was down at Boys State. I was eventually selected to be a state trooper, and what we did is we got to run through tear gas. We got to see their vehicles, the different weapons they use, just what their job actually was. This picture right here, we were outside the Capitol building, and this right here is Iowa, and it just has, you know, a list of all the different counties in Iowa. So I took a few pictures that aren't on my slideshow, but of me with like the Palo Alto County sign. And the far picture, me and one of my friends from my barrack had to do a little conning to get this. We talked the security guard into letting us sit in that chair. It would be where like the president sat if he had to come to Iowa for. I mean, we talked our way in. I don't remember how, but we did a pretty good job. The final is every 15 minutes. As a freshman, I was selected to participate in every 15 minutes. And what that is every 15 minutes somebody gets hit by a drunk driver. It's just an awareness program, and the qualities they look for people they select is, again, you know, you show leadership. You have an influence on people in school and out of school. So I thought it was an honor. As you can see on the far pitch, I was a little shocked to have been selected because they sent a reaper to different classes, and they'd do an all call and say, you know, this person died. They'd read their obituary, and then they take you. And then after I was taken, this is a picture of me with my face painted. I had to walk around the school. I couldn't talk to anybody. I had to be silent because I was dead. I had been hit by a drunk driver. This program was insanely good. This is something I would go back and do over and over and over again. It was a lot of team building activities because they took us up to Emmitsburg where we did team building activities, but when the sun went down, it was when everything started to get really real. We were all in a room together, and the thing I remember the most is we were all tasked with writing a letter to our parents. It was the last letter we were ever going to write, last words they'd ever read. And I just remember I cried and I cried and I cried because that was the hardest thing I had done ever at this point as a freshman. So this program was something I look back on and I was glad to be a part of. My next is NHS, and that stands for National Honor Society. I was selected as a sophomore to be part of this society, and this year I held the leadership chair. And that is where you apply for the position, and then you take a group vote. The people in NHS take a group vote, and they voted me leadership chair. So for tomorrow, we actually have our induction for the new incoming National Honor Society members, and I am tasked to read what the leadership chair and things such as that. Well, one cool thing that we did do was we wanted to make it more of an exclusive group. So we raised the GPA requirements from 3.25 to 3.5. Now that way, you really feel like you've earned your way into this program. Now I'm going to talk to you about my future plans. So for college, I plan to attend Iowa Central Community College. Again, I signed my letter of intent there back during wrestling season. I'm receiving scholarships both for football and academically to go play down there. Different obstacles I might run into on my college journey is money. So right now I'm sitting pretty good with scholarships and things, but say 2 years from now I decide, hey, I don't want to play football anymore. Then I got to worry about taking out loans and things such as that. And then I take a class this year called Bank Finance, and it's taught me I don't want to go into debt. I want to be able to pay for everything up front. So money could be an obstacle for me. The next obstacle is education. Coming from a small school, you have a lot more one-on-one time, to where when you go to a bigger school, and then eventually when I go to a bigger school, it's going to be a lot less one-on-one time. It's going to be a lot more independent. But I feel like I do have the tools to strive at the college level. Where do I see myself in 5 years? So I see myself finishing college. If all goes well, I see myself entering the NFL draft. Again, it's a long shot, it is, I know it is. But it's a dream of mine, and it's something I'm not ready to give up on yet. Maybe, like I said, maybe 2 years, I don't want to do it anymore, but as of right now, that's where I see myself in 5 years. 10 years from now, I see myself with a family, settled down in a small town like Grettinger, maybe not Grettinger, but very similar. And I see myself either being involved in sports management, which is I would do finances for either a college, a professional team, things such as that, or a school even. Or I see myself being a teacher. I'm interested in either elementary education or high school physical education. You guys have any questions?
Sure, a whole page of
I figured you would.
Okay, Cody, what was your biggest challenge in high school and how did you overcome it?
So my biggest challenge in high school was I was so involved not only with the community and school, but was balancing my time between academics, volunteering, and sports. It was something I never did before I got to high school, but as I got older, it just seemed, I had a bigger workload, but it seemed to get easier and easier because I learned how to cope with it.
What would be your advice to underclassmen in preparing for their Titans?
And preparing for their Titans game, well, I had worked on it from first semester you enter high school to the last semester when you graduate high school. As you can see, the portfolio is very full. I mean, it takes a lot of time to do these. It's not just, I'm gonna grab it one day and do it. It's, you have to sit down, you have to make sure the wording's correct. Then I looked over my artifact reflection sheets 4, 5, 6 times.
When did you start yours?
I started mine at the end of first semester.
Good job.
It was still not as soon as I wish I would have started it, but it ended up working out all right. Yep.
This committee, I think, way too long,
Yep.
and they get stressed out.
Well, another thing is you have to have reference request letters. So I had to write a request to someone, and I actually wrote mine to Mr. Huff, my football coach.
Right.
But I didn't choose him because he was my football coach. I chose him because he has a good idea of who I am, what I'm about, what my character's like, my leadership, all these different things I have, he knows about because he's not only been my teacher, he's been my coach for football, track. I've had a personal relationship with him. So I just felt like he was a very good person to write a reference letter for.
Absolutely.
You could redo the last 4 years of your life. Would you change anything?
I would. I think I'd just be more outgoing. I feel like I'm pretty outgoing as is, but I feel when I was a freshman and a sophomore, I was very shy. Like I didn't apply for a student council just because it wasn't the cool thing to do. I look back and I wish I was part of student council because they make decisions that it's like, oh, I wish I could have, put my input on this. But you have to apply and you have to be accepted. And that's one thing I wish I would have done different.
Okay, you stated you're going to Iowa Central,
Yep.
and I know you told me one time you're hoping to be a walk-on for the Hawkeyes.
Yep.
How did Greg Jotero help you prepare for this path?
Well, both academically and athletically. I'll touch base on academically first.
Okay.
Yeah, our classes, they're not the hardest, but the teachers help us. We have a question, I know I can go to any teacher here because they'll go above and beyond. There's a lot of sophomores that will take physics at other schools, where I'm taking biology, and again, Mr. B, fantastic teacher. I could go to him about any question, whether it be science related or language arts. He would be willing to help me, and that's just like a lot of different teachers at the school. They'll do anything they can to help me. And then athletically, they've given us the new facilities like the weight room, the resting room. They keep all our facilities, our equipment in great shape, and they give us workout plans and things such as that, so we can strive to be the best we can.
Thank you.
Yep.
Very good answer.
One thing Mrs. Olish kind of wanted us to ask is, do you see anything that they could improve on as far as the Titans gym and stuff?
I would say sit down with the kids at the beginning of the year. Sit down with them and explain everything to them, because I had a lot of questions this year that weren't coming across clear to everybody. And I would go ask them, I'd get a few different answers, and then eventually I'd make sense of it.
Yeah.
But if they sit down and explain everything, there'll be a smooth road.
That's kind of what the other girls have said too, and plus
the
that
fact-
things have changed a little bit throughout the year.
Yeah, and make it set, so at the beginning of the year,
And that's
you
what
start
it
it,
is.
that's
We'll
it.
change it.
Because there
That's
there definitely were several changes from first semester to second semester,
Exactly.
even the start of fourth quarter,
Yeah,
and different requirements and things like that, so.
that's what the girls have commented too.
So they need to set it and stay consistent.
Right, and that doesn't mean they can't change it the next year.
Yeah, exactly.
But, but
That's confusing.
At the start of the year, get it set in stone, this is what you guys are gonna do, and this is how you're gonna do it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were several times this year that I did feel a lot of stress, because I was like, I don't know what to do,
Where do I start?
Yeah, exactly. The hardest part is starting. As soon as I got started, it just rolled for me. I started, it was no problem, but it was not only convincing myself, hey, I need to start now, it was knowing where to start. So,
Thank you, that was a good,
Excellent.
excellent,
Thank you.
Excellent job.
yes. And yes, you are ready, but
thank you.
you've got a very special class.
We do. It's been a
You
fun
really
4
do.
years, it
Your-
really has.
Your senior class is pretty one of our stars, they're just special.
And then do I need to leave my portfolio up here?
No, they can't do it.
Okay, cause I know Miss Cook told me that you guys were gonna keep it, and I was gonna get it back with my scores tomorrow.
No,
No, we haven't kept it.
Okay,
We've
perfect.
given them back, we got their scores, and you'll get our comments on there, so.
They may have in other rooms just because I think some people wanted them there for like their extra 5-10 minutes. but-
Okay. You want me, you want me to shut that thing off?
What is it there?
No, the recording, yeah. You guys want it left on?
I didn't know.
I didn't know they were recording.
The recording and
Yeah,
all.
They let me know they were recording me, so.
Well, did they ever pick a good one?
Yes, they did.